Hello, welcome to the next episode of the Good Anime Palette Podcast. I'm your co-host, Will, and on my side, I've got my other co-host, Jason. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fine. This is episode 9, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Lots and lots of episodes, but so much more shit that we want to keep talking about. So, hopefully we'll be able to bring you some insightful details and information about today's topic. But, as always, we're going to be starting off with a couple of things. Most namely, stuff that we have watched, and in some cases, like me, haven't watched because I've been so goddamn busy the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, I have not been that busy, basically.
Yeah, I figured, with the time you have now, you've probably been able to read and watch a couple of good things. Some of the stuff that I do know of, but I haven't got around to checking out. Hopefully, when things die down a little bit over the next week or two, I'm able to actually start picking up some of the animes. Like, I haven't actually been watching much of the seasonal stuff. So, no Tokyo Revengers, no Higehiro, no 86 VV. It's been pretty tough for me.
But, just other than that, how have you been doing, man? Like, just in general, non-anime wise.
I'm tired.
Yeah, you're tired.
I'm actually very tired. What else am I going to do, right? Like, work is work, life is life, and, we got to keep the ball rolling when it comes to doing the Good Anime Palette Podcast.
I mean, we had a lot of sake and sushi last
Surprisingly, the amount of sake we drank, though, neither of us have, a hangover or,
No.
are dying. We were just tired, right? I think it just comes with age.
I'm not young.
We're no spring chickens.
No.
All right.
What are we, winter?
We're like the hens that once they finish laying their eggs, they're useless, so we get culled.
Oh, jeez. Fuck. That's so dark. We turn into chicken nuggets is what it is, right?
The proper term for those hens for commercial use are called stewing hens because of how old the meat is. You don't let
So
you
then
eat
they
it.
stew.
Yeah, you use them to make broths and stocks.
Or chicken nuggets.
No, because the meat would maybe. Don't get any ideas though. Don't mince us up.
No, don't.
We've talked about
This is not Starving Anonymous.
Yeah, we that's a whole different episode. Check out episode 8 if you want to hear about human nuggets. Anyways, so to get cracking on with today's episode, I think we should probably go over some of the stuff that you've been watching. I can't really say much, but I'm more than happy to weigh in on the stuff you've been
Yeah. You should weigh in on some of this stuff. So we didn't watch a lot of group stuff because, Will, you've been busy, which is fine, which is understandable, really, given the situation.
Well,
right?
we did watch one group thing, but this is more for research for today's topic. So
No, and also some for next.
yeah.
So,
okay, kind of lied. I did watch stuff, but not stuff that I could talk about right now.
yes. So I watched a bunch of seasonal stuff, and I watched some backlog stuff as well, and read some manga.
Right. So what do you want to start off with? The manga, the anime?
Let's start with the animes.
Right.
The animus.
So which one do you want to go over first? Because I think you have a couple.
Yeah. Let's start with the combatants will be dispatched.
Right, that one's airing this season, right?
Yes, and it is streaming on Funimation. It is based on a light novel series of the same name, and the reason why this is a kind of well-known series is because it is written by the same person who did Konosuba. And of course, Konosuba being the isekai fantasy kind of RPG comedy, which is very popular, and I think it's very funny as well.
Yeah, I think if we're talking the isekai genre, this is one of the front runners, right? For the most part, if you're watching isekais, you probably have watched and or consumed some of Konosuba. I've watched one or two episodes.
You just have to know Konosuba, the name.
Yeah.
So Combatants Will Be Dispatched is similar in that the main character get transported to another universe, but it isn't through dying. It is through teleportation. And this male main character's name, Agent Number 6, his just name is 6, as in the number, and he is joined by Alice, who is a lolly robot. And it turns out that this is also in a world where demons and humans fight, and demons have been winning a lot, and they need to turn the tide of battle. And it's comedic because it turns out that the way that they have been losing is because their strategy is very honor bound and very straightforward. So, for example, they would just rush in formation towards the enemy and just die. But Agent 6, who is part of this evil organization from another world where they dominate, they're like, we need to dominate more worlds, so let's just go to new worlds and dominate them. And the comedy part of it is through people being very scummy, basically.
Right. So how are you finding the show? Are you enjoying it? Is it something that's you probably finish the season?
It's kind of funny, but it's definitely not as good as Konosuba, 100%.
But are there after watching it, is it clear that you're watching something that's written by the author of Konosuba?
There are a lot of similar traits, yes, but I would say that this is the lesser version of his work. Konosuba obviously being the better one.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty funny having a little lolly girl carry a shotgun and just murder people. And then it's also interesting how the two of them are basically just really scummy, or they do things that people question their ethics or morality, and they're like, dude, do you want results or not? This is how we do things. It's just like, oh, let's hit their food supply, so then they have to retreat because they can't survive. And then they're like, no, we can't do that. We have to go in through the front gates. We have to kill them through that way. That's how we do things. So it's kind of like that dichotomy, basically. And it's just worrying about booze, women, money, mainly money, to be honest, and some violence. Yeah.
Right. Recommend or
soft recommend, I would say.
Right. Okay. Now, this next show that you've been watching, I think you briefly mentioned it before. Maybe I think you were one or maybe part of the way through episode 1, but then you had more time to watch it and flesh it out. Did you want to talk about Super Cub?
Oh yeah. So another show airing this season that I watched a first episode long ago was Super Cub, which is about it's essentially about a bunch of girls who go on scooters and their love for scooters and traveling, basically.
Now, just to make sure, when defining scooters, we're talking little mopeds, right?
Yes.
We're not talking the Razor scooters, the one
No.
that you kickflip and all that.
So the show is basically a product placement for Honda because Super Cub is a line of scooters. Cubs.
Okay, right.
Yes. As I think the first episode I said, it was really colorful, really cute and comfy and fluffy. And I have to say, after watching almost up to date, that it is probably the most dandere show I have ever seen. It is really, it's nice. It's really nice. And it's very quiet. It's essentially, the quiet, unassuming anime in the corner. But when you watch it, it's actually pretty good. So, yeah. I don't think there really is anything else to say. It's streaming on Funimation. It's based on a light novel series. It's good.
Based on a model for a Honda scooter, basically.
Yes.
Apparently, the novel was. They also had promotional posters, and the novel's website was used to promote the commemoration of the Honda Super Cub and how it sold 100 million units.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing on your phone?
It's basically trying to, because you said it was this product placement. It's okay, so how involved are they? It turns out they scratch each other's backs. Right?
Oh yeah.
They feature the Super Cub in the manga and the anime, and then in return they're like, well, you know what? You guys just sold this many. Here's a congratulations, using our poster, using our sites.
Yeah, it's cute girls doing cute things, but it's interesting how they would talk about very light mechanics, as in about repair, about maintaining a scooter, changing oils, customizing parts. So it's not like it's just using it as an excuse for cute girls to do cute things. It actually goes, I would say, relatively in depth.
Right.
Not hardcore, but good enough, I guess.
Clearly, it's they're not just riding. They know how to maintain, how to keep good condition, how to ride their motorcycles, and not just oh, here's some girls doing cute things.
Right, and it's through the main protagonist that she just got her Super Cup, so you learn along the way with her, basically. and it's about like and then like character development is all about like self-discovery, finding oneself, being free from the shackles of being tied down at home and stuff like that, and you determining where you want to go in life, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, so that's that. There is another show that actually released recently. And by recently, I think it was on Thursday, which is Eden, that was released on Netflix.
All right. This is an original net animation.
That's correct. And there's only 4 episodes. I have only seen 3 of the 4 episodes, but I'm pretty sure I know where it's going, and I pretty much have all my thoughts.
Well, you actually care about the plot?
Yeah, so...
I thought you only watched it for, one person and one person only.
Which is?
Yeah, Mr. Penkin.
Yeah, so the music is by Kevin Penkin. The music is really good.
In case you haven't, come across some of our episodes, we simp hard for Kevin Penkin.
I mean, a number of other big names is that the director for Eden is also the director from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
That's a big name, yeah.
That's a big name. And I think the character designer for the characters were also affiliated with Cowboy Bebop, so also a very big name. It is Cubic Pictures and CG Studios' first anime, and I think CG Studios is a Taiwanese studio, so they're both newcomers. And it's streaming on Netflix exclusively. It got all of the episodes, all 4 of them got released. It's about essentially in a world where human beings don't exist anymore, and it's run by robots. And then somehow 2 robots manage to find a human girl, raises her, and...
I thought for a minute you were going to say 2 robots managed to give birth to a human baby.
No. But I have to say that the mom and the dad of the robot, of the girl, Sarah Grace is her full name. The mother robot and the father robot is goddamn adorable.
So it's quite a wholesome show.
I wouldn't say it's wholesome as much as very lighthearted.
Right.
I think the first thing that I would say is that this show is more for teenagers, like young teenagers.
So preteens all the way through down to like young children.
Like, this is what I would show, like if I was a parent, this is what I would show my kid as like
my 7 or 8-year-old cousin will probably enjoy this.
Yes.
Or like be able to watch it and get along with it.
Yeah, the story is extremely simple. There are like maybe 1 or 2 twists, but it's not like jaw-dropping. But one of the things that I think is really interesting is the look of the anime.
Right. So this one's actually like a 3D animated series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. And it reminds me of several animes that are obviously in 3D. Namely, Knights of Sidonia, which is also made by Netflix. Ajin, which is
Netflix
also
as
made
well.
by Netflix.
But those 2 are under Polygon Pictures.
That's correct. But I think I told you, Will, that, and you agreed too, that Knights of Sidonia and Ajin, when they move, because it's in complete 3D CG, it looks a little bit like blocky, right? Like frame rate.
It slows down.
Yeah, it's like
right?
choppy.
The background is smooth, but it's like a rigid kind of like frame rate from like heads turning, from like specific character movements, running as well. It kind of looks slow.
Yes.
Yeah, but like I think I've watched like a few snippets of Eden.
Yes.
And it's very smooth.
It's extremely smooth.
It's like too smooth, actually.
I think it looks fine in terms of the fluidity of it. I think the robots look way better than the girl, particularly because at some moments when they zoom in on the girl's face.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I agree with. Well, I think well, at least from my perspective, like the characters' like faces are a little bit flat.
Yeah, and her mouth movement is very not... I don't even know how to explain it. It just looks a little bit jarring, basically. But, as I said, if you were to show this to any 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old person, it's perfectly fine. They don't care about things like that. It looks good enough. The story is simple enough. The colors are really like bright and colorful. The music is obviously really good because it's Mr. Penkin, Kevin Penkin.
If you don't remember the name, we'll just say We'll just name drop Kevin Penkin for every episode moving forward.
No, I don't think we should.
We'll just watch every show. Never mind.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's what we should do, really.
So that means you need to watch Mid and Abyss
Yes.
again.
I don't know. No. 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 No.
No.
We can finish Tower of God, though.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's good.
Yes. So, sorry. But Kevin Penkin's music is extremely good because it combines orchestral music with, like, future synth. So it's like, it makes sense because in the world, it's not apocalyptic, but what do you call it? Like, it's barren and it's run by robots. So it's like future, but then nature has overgrown into the world. So it is like, it looks like it is both in the past and in the future at the same time.
Basically, the Earth has gone through a reset, but instead of humans roaming the Earth, it's robots.
Except
right?
one girl. Yeah.
So it's not bad, right?
No.
Four episodes, quick and easy. It's on
Yes.
Netflix, so it's very easy to watch.
It's fine, basically. So yeah, that is Eden. But the anime that I am most excited about these past 2 weeks is an anime that is streaming on High Dive, and it is an anime done in the summer of 2019 by Studio Passion.
Passione? Well, when I say Passione, it's also like a JoJo's reference too. So.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
It's based on a web manga. It is Wasteful Days of High School Girls. It is a high school comedy. It reminds me heavily of Daily Lives of High School Boys and Nichijou combined. There really is not much storyline other than it's about a class of high school girls who just go about their daily shenanigans, and it's pretty funny. It's actually very funny.
Okay.
There's nicknames for each of these characters. Like, there is Robo, which is for the girl who is basically very quiet and always is very scientific. There is the Baka, who is an idiot. There is the Majo, which is like the gothic girl. There's Lily for the Yuri girl, things like that. And then it's just them. There's a Lolly girl who's called Lolly. So very inventive nicknames. But it's really, really funny. I highly recommend the show. It's legit funny. I didn't chuckle. I was just like, dude, this is pretty good. Like, several times per episode.
Yeah, it's always good to have a comedy in your anime viewing or just any show watching rotation.
Mm-hmm, yeah, so that's Wasteful Days of High School Girls.
That's just the anime you've watched so far, right?
Yes.
Now moving on to the manga.
Yeah.
One of them I really should start reading soon.
And which one is that?
That's Daidark.
Yes, that's correct.
It's Daidark. Daidark, two separate words.
It's published by Seven Seas Entertainment. It is made by the same mangaka who did Dorohedoro, which is why Will should really read it. It's essentially Mad Max in space.
Yeah. So,
but with bones.
Yeah, I think like what you said, it's a similar kind of premise. Like it's not like for like, but like in terms of like dark and wacky and like ridiculous to the point where it becomes funny, but also like adrenaline junkie kind of like enjoyment, right?
Yeah, and the humor is extremely stupid, but in a way that it is.
Hey, meatballs, right?
Yeah, meatball subs, dude. Meatball subs for life. Also, manju buns.
Yeah.
That's manju buns is their food, because in Dorohedoro it's all about gyozas. In Daidark it's about manju buns.
Yeah, in Dorohedoro it's those, right? It's gyozas, pies, and mushrooms.
Oh yeah, pies. I forgot about the pies.
Don't forget the pies, dude.
Don't forget the pies.
And the mushrooms. Oh man.
So many mushrooms.
Right.
And then when you find out where the mushrooms come from, it's like, ooh.
But I think that's the thing, right? It's like the connections between the two. It's like there are like references between the two, but at the same time, it still very much holds itself as like its own thing, right?
I think the first volume doesn't really show much other than introduce the characters and the weird world. There really isn't like an overarching plot yet, really.
I mean, like when looking at the panels before, I was like, this looks exactly the same as Dorohedoro. So
It is.
You knew that it was the same mangaka.
Exactly. Him.
Yeah.
His style.
Q Hayashida, I think.
His style is extremely distinctive. So it's very obvious that it's like I saw like the cover and the first couple of pages, and I was just like,
Sorry, it's a she.
it is a she?
Yeah,
Oh, snap. My bad.
it's a woman.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That is a woman. That's a picture of a woman.
Yep. So yeah, Dorohedoro and Dark.
She's really talented. And I think Dark is another hit if you like Dorohedoro.
I mean, I fucking love Dorohedoro, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to be checking out Dark soon.
Yeah. Okay, the other manga. I mean, I've been reading a shit ton of mangas all the time, but I think the last thing that I would mention in terms of the manga stuff is After the Rain. So I would say in the past couple of episodes, I have been on a tear in terms of age gap romance. It started with both of us with Higehiro, and then I watched Koikimo and hated it. You liked Higehiro a little bit.
Yeah, I was okay with it.
And I think I liked it way more than you did, but it's good enough, right? And then Koikimo I think was like utter trash. And then I mentioned after my impressions of Koikimo that there was another age gap romance called After the Rain, which is also an anime done by Wit Studios in 2019. Something like that, I forgot. And the manga is obviously finished, and there is 10 volumes of it, and Kodansha has a 5-volume 2-in-1 omnibus, and I read all of it. I have to say, though, I've heard before reading or watching After the Rain that this is the age gap romance. If there is one, this is like the best. And I have to say that it is extremely good. I gave it, in my opinion, a 9 out of 10, 4.5 stars out of 5.
I mean, right off the bat, when you say you were reading it, it's rare that you immediately say, "Yep, this is going to be a 9 out of 10," possibly more. But
Yeah.
you're probably gonna stick with a 9, and that's it stuck the landing, right? It was.
Oh,
a 9,
it
yeah.
definitely stuck the landing. I would say it's almost like a 9.5, but more 9 than a 10.
Yeah.
Hey,
dude, 9's a fantastic number.
It's a fantastic number. It's 3 times 3.
So by that logic, then, if you were to read three out of 10 mangas, that would equate to your level of enjoyment of a 9.
No.
Yeah, and manga math doesn't work like that.
I know. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but okay, so it's just really good. I can't really say much other than it's an age gap romance. It stars a track team ace, Tachibana, who gets injured, and I think she tore her Achilles tendon, and then she had to recover, but then she decided not to go back to track and field and decided to then spend her days working at a family restaurant where the manager of the family restaurant is a 40-something-year-old divorcee with a son, and it is basically the main relationship between her and him, and by proxy some of the relationships between all the other people working at this family restaurant. And it talks about Tachibana's past, Tachibana's track and field team, including some of her friends and her struggle. And the ending is rather interesting because it is not what I thought the ending would be. And I think a lot of people are very unhappy about the ending. But at the same time, I thought that the ending was very beautiful. And I feel that the ending is extremely also realistic. And it's also really well paced and really well done. So I'm of the opposite camp in thinking that the ending is actually really good.
Okay, so that's it for now, right? In terms of what you've watched, what you've read.
Oh, and then I watched this and read this. No.
I wouldn't doubt that you already have those. It's just that, is it really worth discussing?
No, I mean, I think I read a lot of manga and watch a lot of shows, but I don't talk about some of them because I don't feel like they're worth talking about, or they're just like, hey, it's just that shoujo manga again.
Or it's if it's something that we've previously discussed before, it's what more can you really add to it?
Yeah, exactly.
Unless something really crazy did happen.
Do you really want me to give you an update on Slime 300?
Then also it's if it's the reason why I made the show good is because it was of a spoiler. We're not going to be revealing spoilers, right? So if there's any updates, it's probably just stuff to recommend, stuff that we enjoy, want others to check out, right? Like for sure, like you want people to check out After the Rain, you want people to check out um,
Wasteful Days of High
yeah.
School Girls. Yes, I would say even check out Super Cup for sure, and Combatants Will Be Dispatched as well. I mean, I think all the shows that I talked about, I would recommend to a certain degree.
Okay. So that brings us to the next part of the first half of our episodes, which is the news section. Now, there have been quite a few updates in terms of new shows, new serializations, casts being announced for certain properties that have shows coming up in the next season or two. But I think everything has to take,
A back seat.
a step to the side, because unfortunately, we're going to have to discuss and bring to you some pretty bad news. Now, this has been in the news for a week, but for those who have been out of the loop or have just not come across this bit of news, the mangaka for Berserk, which is one of the most acclaimed manga series of all time, Kentaro Miura, has sadly passed away. So it was reported last week on May 20th that Miura had passed away due to an acute aortic dissection at the age of 54.
Yeah, acute aortic dissection it's a tough way to go.
Yeah.
It's really brutal. I would not describe it over the podcast, not that because it's violent or anything. Just if you really want to know what it is, it's just Google it, but it sounds extremely painful.
Yeah. So the news was reported on the 20th, but they had actually released a report that Miura had passed away on May 6th. So they waited 2 weeks to make an announcement. I think it was, mainly due to, respect for the family, to keep things quiet, to let them have this time to be together, in sorrow and pain. And then,
and our thoughts and wishes, of course, go out to the friends and family.
Yeah, we offer our heartfelt wishes and condolences to the family, to those who have worked with them, especially people at Hakusensha. I think generally everyone who had worked with Miura only had good things to say. Like, this is a man that was very much dedicated to his craft, and he was able to bring joy to many viewers of this manga.
Spanning generations. I mean, I think the first volume of Berserk was like in the
1989.
Yeah, exactly. So these are like, this was a volume 40 is the one that came out last.
Yep.
And Berserk, I think, first of all, Berserk is ranked number 1 in terms of manga.
Yeah.
So I think the whole internet agrees that Berserk, at the very least, is well known, if not one of the best mangas of all time. Now, I read Berserk a while ago, and it was really hard to keep up with because it just got released so slowly. But one thing that I'll always commend is that the art in Berserk is just... It's almost crazy how something can be drawn like that. I remember there was an image of a dragon on top of a castle.
Yep.
And I had to zoom in and look close, and every single scale is drawn in, intricately. There was if you just Google images of the manga Berserk,
It's probably top 3 search results, right?
Yeah, or just look at some of the art there. I think there's one where there's trees in a forest, and then the tree roots kind of coil and stuff, and it's insane. The level of detail is no wonder everything gets released so slowly, because literally any of these panels, these manga panels, you blow it up, you print it, you frame it, and it will look gorgeous.
I mean, we've always known, especially when it comes to the creative industry and producing stuff of this scale. We're talking about a manga property that sold over 50 million copies of manga globally. So it definitely requires a lot of time, talent, patience. Granted, we've kind of known that artists, mangakas, they definitely take time, and it takes a lot of time and energy to do this, but you knew this is a person that was very much dedicated to his craft, dedicated to his work, and wanted to show the best for his for his readers. Which is why if he needed to take a hiatus, like a break, just because then he would be able to have like a dip in his quality. I think generally everybody understood that that was the right decision. Make sure he was looking after himself, both physically and mentally, and when he was ready to pick it up again. I think like it was like sometime last year that he came out of hiatus to roll out the latest chapters for the manga.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because in terms of Berserk anime, in the 1990s, I think there was an animated series which is highly regarded, and it looks really good. I haven't watched all of it. I've only watched like clips of it, but it looks fantastic. But of course, nowadays people remember Berserk, at least on the anime front, as a 3D pile of mess with 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, there was a first half and a second half. So the first one came out in the late 1990s. That was done by OLM Studios.
Yep.
And then, well, we don't need to talk about, is it 2016?
Yeah.
That's when
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me check that. So, I mean, what is your opinion on the Berserk animes?
I haven't watched any of them. I only just read the manga. Granted, I'm still taking my time with it because you do want to slowly appreciate the level of technique and patience that goes into creating every single panel. So I've only really gone through like the first 2 volumes, but I know I got a long way to go. And yeah, I think this is a time where the publishing companies, publishing houses are actually still rolling out full-on translations, full-on omnibuses of Berserk, which means that now more than ever it's easier to actually access Berserk.
So yes, the 3D anime was first aired in 2016. So, but everyone kind of really hates it. I think it's really bad as well, the 3D in it. And it's kind of almost a slap in the face to something as great as the manga.
I mean, we've talked many times in terms of what it would take to translate and adapt a Berserk manga into an anime, and I think
it's impossible.
We just concluded that like anybody who takes up on it, like it's too hard to replicate the craft that Miura had for his work onto the screen.
That being said, though, the manga recently has gone on to be a bestseller after news has been announced of the mangaka's passing.
Yeah, I think it's
in the U.S. In the U.S.,
we're not trying to say that's like because he passed, therefore now it's like people are really getting onto the Berserk train. It's
No.
more like this is out of respect. Like they wanted to be able to show their appreciation for the time and effort that he put into creating over 30 years of Berserk manga. So
I mean, I grew up. We grew up with Berserk. Basically, I grew up with Berserk, and it felt. I felt really like depressed when
I was
found
bummed.
out.
Bummed out.
I was like, man, I don't know what to do, but I guess I hope you're doing okay. I hope everything is fine.
You mean with the family and all that,
yeah,
right?
like God.
You're kind of lost for words right now.
I
as
am
well.
very lost for words. I wouldn't say I'm choked up, but I'm just.
I mean, what else is there really to say, right?
No, he's a legend. The dude's a legend.
Yeah, the only thing we can do is to hope that the family and the people who connected to him are doing well.
So,
they're getting through this.
There is one question, I guess, that people now have been speculating, which is, where does the series go from here? Because, okay, 40 volumes. I can tell you that the story is not even close to being done. The question then becomes, do you let just end it here knowing that there is no end? Or do you find someone who, like the assistant maybe, or is there a blueprint? Is there, like, all of these questions? Because, for example, High School of the Dead is a anime that I really enjoy, and it is not continued. It's discontinued or stopped in the manga because the author passed away. And the artist is like, I'm not going to do it without the author, and in respect of the author, we're just going to stop High School of the Dead prematurely. What do you think Berserk, the fate of Berserk, the manga, would
I don't see it being any different. I think out of respect, this is Miura's legacy, right? Their work, their craft. It would be insulting if they were to pass over his property to someone else to complete, because you would never be able to replicate the vision and the wishes of Miura. So I think it's done. Leave it as is. I mean, there are so many shows, so many mangas that are like still on hiatus, right? Like for example, like Hunter x Hunter, right? That one's been on hiatus for forever. The manga is alive, don't worry, but like it's been on hiatus for over 3 years now. We also have, for example, like Vagabond, Real, the guy who did Slam Dunk.
Slam Dunk, yeah.
Like Vagabond's been on hiatus for ever. Yeah, it does have somewhat of a conclusive ending, but like I don't think like the story ends there. Like the manga mentioned that like if he had the determination and like a fresh mind, then he would go back to working on it. But he's working on other things, right? Real is something that he was also working on. He had to hiatus that as well, and in the end, he only recently got back onto it. I mean, like even the One Punch web comic, that one's a slight hiatus too. So I think generally, like it's not one of those things where you kind of play around with freely. Like these kind of works have been like years, even decades in the making, and the last thing you want is to have someone else take over the helm and apply their creative vision onto something that might stray away from what you intentionally wanted to do for your property.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was just throwing the question out there to have your take on it, but I also agree that you would always, if right, it were to be continued, you would always be in the shadow. And it's just, no, everyone's going to compare you. You probably won't be able to replicate it to the quality that it is portrayed as or expected by everyone. There's just no good resolution that can come out of all this, I feel, And I mean, similar is okay, it's not even close to the same thing, but it's like Boruto and Naruto. Boruto is continued by the assistant, I think, right? One of the assistants. And or like someone affiliated that worked on Naruto. And it's just very obvious that Boruto is not as good as Naruto. So using that as an example, and I think there was a bunch of examples that are similar. It's just, why would you want to continue something when when people have such high expectations, and you'll always be in the shadow of the original creator? So, yeah, I get the sentiment, basically.
I mean, to be fair, imagine like you're part of the publishing company that publishes, like you work with Hakusensha, right? Like you're responsible for publishing and putting out the Berserk manga. Like it would just feel weird, right? To have been working with Miura-san for all these years, and then all of a sudden change hands, and Berserk's being done by someone else now. Okay, like I don't think anybody would be in the right mind and headspace to want to develop that. Not to say that like Berserk doesn't deserve a conclusive ending. I think it's just out of respect and to maintain that part of the legacy, right? You would want to leave it as is.
Yeah. So I think that concludes what we think.
If anything, right? Like with the hiatus that Miro was on, like we knew that he wasn't the healthiest of people, but that's because of his crazy work schedule. Like mangakas, they run a tight ship.
I mean, do we want to talk about the afterwards?
Well, no. I think it's already enough of a downer. I don't think we need to go that much further. I think the main thing is we want to basically reflect on the work that he's done, and hope that in the end, this is all not for nothing, right? He's built up such a big name for himself. He has good stead within the manga community. And we can only wish the family, our condolences.
Yeah.
Hopefully that they get through this.
And you should read Berserk. Basically, you need to read Berserk. You don't need to. We're not forcing you.
I mean,
but you
over
really
the past
should.
couple of years, they've been updating and releasing omnibuses for Berserk. Be able to get your hands on the manga now is easier than ever. I think it's definitely something that it's a work of art.
It's definitely a work of art. It's a classic in the manga space. And it will forever be a classic, I feel. It is that important in the manga industry.
Yeah. Just to appreciate the art alone, that's already like well worth your time.
Yeah. So Okay, then I guess that's the end of the news.
Yeah,
Jesus.
we didn't want to bring this, but like we just wanted to pay our respects.
Yeah, it's extremely, saddening, that's something like this is to happen. But
The world has lost a bright star, but the reason why it pains us to talk about this is because he's brought this much joy to everybody, right?
yeah, and it had a huge impact on like my manga upbringing, I guess.
Like it's really hard to say goodbye when
Yeah, like
things are good.
I struggled so hard, like even now to think of the words. It's not like I'm stuttering because I don't know what to say. It's just more, actually, scratch that. I definitely don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I lost for words, really. Yeah. So but I guess anime and manga lives on.
Yeah, and no matter what, the people who are part of these companies, part of this network, part of the culture, will continue to carry on his name, like far and wide. And so, look, get your hands on a volume of Berserk and just appreciate the work that he put into it over the past 32 years.
Yeah, I would say even try to get your hands on the physical omnibus because it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge, but it's also just the reason why it's so huge is because you should just marvel at the art when it's that big. It's good.
Have some fun. Just enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is. So yeah, that brings up the rest of our first half of the episode. We're gonna take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to be going into a slightly different kind of episode today. But nonetheless, we hope that you'll be able to enjoy it. So we'll catch you in a few minutes, get some water, maybe catch a little bit of a break, and we'll catch you soon.
Peace. Hello and welcome back. This is the Good Anime Palette Podcast. I am Jason. Of course, Will is here. We're trying to... That break was important, right?
Yeah.
That break.
How you feeling, buddy? Feeling better?
No, kinda.
Kinda?
Kinda.
Well, we should try and at least, perk up a little bit because, we got quite a meaty topic today.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
So, yeah, look.
Be a little chipper.
I'm very youthful. I am very Genki, as they say.
Oh, are you Genki as fuck?
Oh,
dude?
I'm Genki as fuck.
All right, let's do this then.
Okay,
so what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about anime, but specifically how it's made.
Ah, okay. So we're talking about the creation process of anime series.
That is correct, Will.
When you were starting it off as well, it's like, we're going to be talking about anime. I was like, no shit. Like, what else are we doing this podcast for?
Hey, you see? Don't we feel a lot more youthful and lively and energetic right now?
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? We watched a lot of anime, read a lot of manga, but we never really have much of an insight into the whole process that goes behind the scenes when it comes to actually making anime, right? We throw out these huge names, right? Like the different studios like Sansaru, Mappa, WIT, A1, Cloverworks,
Trigger,
Kyoto Animation, OLM,
yeah,
Polygon Pictures,
okay,
Passione,
Studio Piero.
Oh, fuck you. Okay, and TMS Entertainment. There's another one. There.
Okay,
yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of studios,
so many, and they're all different shapes and sizes as well, right? We're talking like some that have hundreds, even thousands of employees. Some that would be able to work with like subcontractors outside of Japan. Some of them are literal like tight and close knit studios that maybe only have a handful, like a few dozen people working across all different departments, but they all work together to serve one purpose, which is to create an adaptation of a anime series.
Right. And I think similarly, a lot of people who consume anime and manga don't really actually know the intricacies that they probably know it's somewhat difficult. They probably know it involves a lot of people of varying creative and producing roles.
Probably requires a lot of money.
Yes, but to actually get into the nitty gritty of how it actually is made step by step, I don't think a lot of people, including ourselves beforehand, knew really.
Yeah, you might know like certain parts, like maybe the creative process, maybe how to, cast certain members for your anime, how to get funding to produce your shows. But generally, like in terms of each individual detail that goes into the whole production of an anime series, hopefully we'll be able to go over this in this episode. Now, full disclaimer.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna
We're
do that.
We're not experts. Neither of us have worked in or like have done any solo productions of an anime series. So, our word is literally just a regurgitation of Wikipedia, a few other
Wait,
excerpts
don't
from
name
people,
our sources.
but with with a few twists of our own as well.
Look, we had to do some research, and because we can't get first-hand accounts because we are not animators or mangakas,
nor can we, travel over to Japan and meet with any of the studios, even if we had the opportunity to.
Even if we do, why would they speak to us?
To be fair, though, there was an opportunity to meet with studio.
There was. Let's
we can talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later, and by later I mean never.
Yeah. Okay, we're on with that.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's crack on with this then. So how is anime made? You just get some animators, you get a storyboard, and that's
when
it,
an
right?
anime mom and an anime dad really love each other, they wrestle, and then when they finish wrestling, after a certain amount of time, an anime baby is made, and then when the anime baby grows up, it becomes a full-fledged anime. End of story. Okay, music credits is... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
So this is the part where the anime dad pees on the anime mom.
Oh,
right?
Jesus. Oh, God.
That's how you get.
No, they kiss.
Anime.
They kiss. They hold hands.
And then through the immaculate conception, that's how you have an anime baby.
No, I mean, like, isn't that like a trope in anime where, like, the girl who is, like, super embarrassed and doesn't know anything about love, relationships, or how sex works, they go like, oh my God, they kissed. They're going to have a baby. Or you can't hold hands. You got to get married first.
You know how like whenever talking about like romances and getting down and dirty, like the different bases, like first, second, third, and home runs, it's like the opposite of some of the stuff that I've been consuming for manga and anime, which is first base is hot and heavy hooking up, followed by kissing, then hand holding, and then home run. And then the home run is when you finally open up and talk about your feelings.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
No. Hand holding is when you know it's serious.
Yeah.
Is the anime saying
that's what happens in Domestic Girlfriends, what happens in Scub's Wish. It's like, like when you start actually hand holding and talking about feelings, that's when you know you've made it.
That's when you know the real shit is happening. Okay, but all jokes aside, I think that anime creation process is very similar to how movies or TV shows are made.
Yeah.
They follow similar processes. So the way that we're going to do this is try to inject as much anime-centric or anime and manga-centric qualities to the process of how an anime is being made. Because as you might expect, when it comes to creating a live-action TV series or even a movie, there are similar, in fact, I would say same stages. The other disclaimer that I would like to mention is time length, and also mention about adaptation sources. Mm-hmm. So with time lengths in particular, these things, it was almost impossible, and I think realistically it's impossible to give a rough estimation, because sometimes some studios would like to spend more time doing this certain step, or this certain step gets hitched, and then therefore they had to pause on this step and then had to wait and things like that. So it's almost basically impossible to give you an accurate time frame for these stages. But I would say that the steps are more or less the same, even though some studios or some production committees go about it differently. The other thing that we would say is about adaptation sources. So when we first started on this topic, we actually included creating manga
Yeah.
as well.
Now that would have taken up a lot of time. In fact, we probably would have overrun this episode by an extra hour, maybe two,
Right.
if we were to include the manga creation process. But for all intents and purposes, for today's episode, regardless of it having an original source as the manga, as a light novel, visual novel, or even an anime original, we're going to be just talking about the anime production process specifically.
Right. And therefore, the part in which you try to find the adaptation source or create something from scratch for an anime original, we won't touch on too much because, to be honest, that is that each of those mediums have their own separate, like,
Yeah, like for example, like if you were to get a existing manga greenlit, right? Like you have to go through different people to get it processed and then ready for adaptation, as opposed to running with an anime original script and getting that one greenlit. In the end, the process of making the anime itself will be similar, but getting approval to get it adapted, those would be different processes. We'll just eliminate that from the beginning.
right. So the animation creation process can be really split into three broad stages, which is pre-production, production, and post-production. And you can further break down these three stages into multiple steps. So, as you might expect, pre-production basically is the things that you would do before you produce and make the anime.
Yeah, like laying out the foundations, right? If you're making, like, for example, if you're making a type of food, pre-production would be getting the ingredients ready.
Right. And then production would be actually making the anime. So, using Will's and meta analogy,
Yeah.
it would be cooking the food.
Yeah.
And then post-production is sort of the things that you would do to either enhance the product that you have made, whether it is the anime itself or through advertising or getting the word out there. So it is plating in terms of the food.
Yeah.
Like you plate.
This would also include, maybe cleaning up some inaccuracies or some mistakes.
Yeah.
So, for example, if it's like a sound recording, you might need to clean it up. If there's maybe like a frame or two that's missing, then that's when you would do the post-production to basically get those clips put into it, edited, done.
And also it would talk about promotion as well and advertisements.
Yeah.
So that's the really broad overview. And then now we will get into each of those stages. We will then end with, some of our thoughts on the industry as a whole during these steps and processes. And believe it or not, there are actually anime and manga about anime and manga creation, which we will also touch on.
It's fucking hilarious too. It's like
So meta.
We've been watching some shows where it's like the voice actor credits are literally, this is a voice actor playing a voice actor that's trying to be a voice actor for an anime.
Yeah, not just that, but
And we're watching an anime of it.
But the voice actor or actress had to be purposefully bad, but because they're really good at being purposefully bad, they're therefore a good a voice actor or actress in real life. And it's just like,
Literally, it's like, this new manga. Yeah, we're looking for a voice actor. Okay, cool. What do I do? What do you mean?
just do it. Just do what you do.
Just be a
but
voice actor.
Just do what you do, but do it like start off being bad.
Yeah.
And then get good.
So actually, yeah, the whole casting of voice actors, actresses, that's part of the pre-production, but there's actually a lot of steps before we even get to that stage. So let's start off with the beginnings of the process, pre-production.
All right. So as we said earlier, pre-production is the phase of the project before anyone has actually started making the show. And this is the part where everything from budget, allocation of resources, and acquiring the team to make the anime that is in question. And this also comes to this is the part where whether it is a pitch for an original anime or trying to pitch for a manga or light novel to be adapted into the anime, this is where this starts to sort of convince whoever the producers are that this project is worth adapting into an anime.
Yeah. Now, pre-production, the length of time needed to address all these issues, get everything prepared, it can vary. It could take several weeks. It could even take several years. But the main thing is, as long as you have, all the pre-production laid out, it eventually will make the production cycle a lot easier. You want to be able to have all the things set in place so that when you do run into the production cycle, that you're not hampered by not having enough budget, not like having casted the right voice actors, actresses, not having the like this consistencies in the script fleshed out, or having like the directorial vision shared with your crew. So that's why the pre-production, whilst it's tedious and time-consuming, it is extremely important because without it, the production process will be a mess.
Right. And this is the part where I would say, believe it or not, is the most important part for the director.
Yep.
The director is the overarching person that oversees the series as a whole, because this is unique to anime to my knowledge sometimes. Actually, no, to TV series is like that too, where there's a showrunner and then there's episode directors. And in this case, in anime, there is episode directors, and then there is the series or, overarching main director. And in this point in the process, the director is now trying to assemble his team of people that he or she deems appropriate for the role. I also feel that this is another point where there is licensing of story rights that could be talked about, royalties, everything, pay, salary, wages, all that is discussed, obviously, before things start, just so that everything is clear from the get-go. And as Will has mentioned, if this part of the process, as tedious as it is not done correctly, then everything kind of snowballs into a huge ass mess later on.
Like imagine if like you set out the wrong budget and then like the animation team realizes, hey, so we were supposed to get like some funding to be able to acquire enough drives to save our stuff, but none of the orders came in. So what's happening? And it's like, oh, okay, we'll put an order in, and then your shit's delayed by 2 weeks, and because of that delay, everything else gets pushed back by 2 weeks, and then it's a whole domino effect. So you gotta be on your shit when it comes to getting everything pre-planned.
So the other thing that we want to mention is that at this point, usually there is a studio that would be in charge of creating the anime, So similarly to, so basically the long list of studio names that Will mentioned earlier on, right after the break, those are the studios that you would hear when we say, oh, this anime is made by Wit Studio. This anime is made by Kyoto Animation. Is made by Studio Trigger. Or MAPPA. Of course, you got to mention your boy, MAPPA.
Or Bones.
Yeah. So the situation here becomes actually not that straightforward because, for example, in Kyoto Animation's case, there have in-house teams that are in charge of the animation. But even then, you might outsource some of those work to other studios as well.
For example, if you need to use 3D CG, right, and you don't have an in-house team that does 3D, you'd have to outsource it, right? You'd have to find another company that will work on as an assistant to your overall project. Maybe not every episode you'll have enough people working on color, or you'll have people working on storyboards. So this is when you have to start bringing in other people from other companies. It's not uncommon to see a anime series have 2 studios accredited for the work that they're doing.
So here's the thing that gets pretty interesting, which is I looked at one of the series that I thought was really well done, which is Ancient Magus Bride.
Yeah.
Will loves to hear me talk about it all the time, and by that I mean I can't stop talking about it, and Will's just like, okay, Jason.
Hurry up.
It's made by Wit Studio. It's credited by Wit Studios, but the studio is not the only one that is in charge of making this anime. It turns out, believe it or not, can you guess how many? Did you see the docket? Can you guess how many other studios were affiliated with this anime?
I'm guessing 2.
Nope.
Am I really far off?
Really far off.
6?
Really far off.
Go ahead.
28.
Wow.
I have them here. Oh my God. From backgrounds to CGI to animation editing to finish animation, in between animation, line test, photography, special effects, there's a total of 28 anime studios collaborating on the Ancient Magus Bride. But they are definitely in the credits. But the big boy, the one with the name, is Wit Studio. So that just goes to show, especially when you look at the credits, like the after episode credits, you might notice a lot of names that are not Japanese, that may be Thai or Vietnamese or Korean
Or Filipino,
or Filipino or
Chinese.
Chinese even. So it's just, yes, the main studio responsible is the studio, but actually there's a lot of other people that's part of that team. So I just want to reiterate that just because there is one name studio attached to it does not mean they're the only name studio attached to it. Sometimes, like in Kyoto's Animation's case, it's all done in-house. Their music, their directors, they're all part of the Kyoto Animation staff. But even then, some things do get outsourced. I don't know for sure.
I think it also because it comes down to like the schedules that these studios have, right? I mean, like with studio, when you're talking about Ancient Magus Bride, like the anime came out 2017, 2018. That was around the same time when Attack on Titan season 2 was airing. So you
Right.
can imagine that's like, look, as big as the studio it could be, or however big any studio is, anime series require a lot of hands on deck.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And if your whole studio isn't able to source enough people like solo to produce something, you will need to have assistants, because in the end, it's like it's not just these production studios. You also have all these other companies that help you to do with licensing, with rights, with distributions, and all that, and they're also working on really tight schedules too. So there's a lot of moving parts, and therefore, if you're not able to do things on your own, you need to bring in backup.
I also feel like this is at the point where we have to jump really far into the future of profitability of the anime in question. Now, for example, I think Mugen Train by Studio UFO Table is a good example. As you probably would have known, because you are born on this planet at this point, Mugen Train is breaking box office records not only in Asia, but also all over the world and in the US. It is one of the most profitable Japanese films of all time. So you may think to yourself, wow, Studio UFO Table is probably earning a lot of money. Or this anime, okay, if we go off Mugen Train a second, I don't know, X anime is doing really well. It's really successful. It's really popular on Reddit and everyone's going crazy about it. They should earn a lot of money. Then why is all these studios downsizing, shutting down, and things like that? The reason is because, believe it or not, whenever you look at, in fact, if you watch the OPs, the openings, the last thing you see, I think right after the director credit is the last staff credit. You might see something like so-and-so production company. Usually it would be the name of the anime, and then it would say production company. Or production committee, sorry, not company, committee. The reason is because the production committee is the one that funds the project. And therefore, they're the ones who reaps the most from the profit. So you might say that, oh, the mangaka of Demon Slayer must be like swimming in millions and millions and millions of dollars because Mugen Train is so successful, right? Well, you're not entirely wrong, but because she is very successful, the mangaka of Demon Slayer. She is earning a lot of money, but nowhere as near as much as you think compared to the box office results of Mugen Train. You might, yeah. So also this comes into terms and conditions, right? If certain studios ends up, fronting some of the budget for the anime, they're therefore more privy to having a bigger cut of the profit. But usually, the production committee is the one who funds it, and the production committee is therefore the one who gets the profit. They fund it. They usually pay a flat rate to the studios to make it. That's it.
Because in the end, they're the ones that are heading the financial risk, right? They're the ones who are putting the money on the line. So depending on the property they're working on, I mean, in the case of Demon Slayer, Mugen Train, right? The mangaka, they have produced a hit. But at the same time, we also have to remember that Demon Slayer is their first major work. Therefore, technically, they're still a newbie industry. Therefore, it's not hard for them to negotiate a deal in which they can profit a lot more than the manga. Like you said, though, they still make money, but you could see where most of the money went.
Right. And then obviously this production committee would then split their profits and into different sections depending on how much money is put in. And these production committees would then split itself into, okay, you do this is how much we pay for advertising. Oh, you're paying all for advertising. You're paying all for the production costs.
You're paying for all the staff, blah,
right?
Blah.
You're so then
you're in charge of handling sponsorship deals.
Exactly, and then therefore, due to that split, this is how much percentage of the profit you will get.
See, breaking that all down does require a lot more research with data that we may or may not have readily available, right? Because this is all like company-sensitive information, how much a company is paying its staff, how much money it's allocating towards marketing and advertising. But generally, this is the step where like you start to figure out, the intricacies that go into anime production. It's not just actually making the anime itself; it's also having the right to make money off of it, the right to distribute it, and also the right to own any IPs or any details of said series, of said property.
I mean, Will, have you ever seen an anime broadcasted in Japan?
Yeah, I have.
Have you noticed that right after the opening, there's always that, usually it's a woman, I remember. Exactly, and then they say like the sponsor.
Yeah. Anyprodex.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is obviously absent in streaming sites. Mm-hmm. But in Japan, they have sponsors.
And those sponsor clips usually take around 30 to maybe even 45 seconds because sometimes if it's a large production, they're going to have a lot of sponsors.
Exactly. So that is something that you will not see on Netflix, for example.
You don't really see it much in American TV, except if you're watching like a sports broadcast, you'll be like, this so-and-so broadcast was brought to you by Miller Lights. Or
yeah.
Okay. But it's like something like that, right? Like you will have people that talk about sponsorship sponsors for specific productions. You would definitely see it in Japan. You don't see it in Netflix, but that's because a lot of stuff is behind the scenes.
And here's the part where people think that studios actually get all of the budget for the anime. And actually that is not true. To my surprise,
far from it, really.
To my surprise, actually, it seems that I would say 30 to 50% of the budget can be attributed to broadcasting rights, especially taking a certain TV slot during the time of week and the time of day. And it is surprisingly high. It's similar to American TV where, like, the prime time slot is to put in a show at that slot would cost a lot.
Yeah, as opposed to like if you're watching like daytime dramas, those productions aren't very heavy because it doesn't cost you that much to broadcast your show during those times.
So I managed to get a sort of third-party account where this person claims that around 50 million yen is needed for a late-night time slot across 5 to 7 broadcast channels or stations for a 52-episode series.
Now, for context, 50 million yen is roughly $500,000 US, $500,000 US.
Yeah, and so another example is that Fullmetal Alchemist, which had a 6 p.m. Saturday slot in Japan at the time, which is pretty prime time, I would say, and on the weekend, has a total budget of 500 million yen before additional costs.
So just securing that time slot alone was 500 million yen.
No. Like the budget of everything.
Right.
So it wasn't just the broadcasting rights, but everything before they even start.
And this is the original FMA, right?
Brotherhood. Oh, no. It's original FMA. It's not even Brotherhood. Yeah.
2001, 2002, something like that. Early 2000s.
So, long story short, it's wicked expensive.
Wicked. Right. Okay. Well, let's say you got all the budgeting in place. You've got your sponsorship contracts all written out. You have your advertising planned out. What's next?
We're not even done with the pre-production because what about character designs?
What the hell's going to be writing the storyboard? Who the hell's going to be doing all the animations? Who's going to be doing all the voice? We don't have a team yet, do we?
Yeah, well,
Now we need to assemble one.
yeah. So the director assembles one, as we said. So let's assume, for argument's sake, Will, that the whole team is assembled. Everyone has been chosen. They all accepted. Everyone signed contracts. Everyone is good to go. Before the production phase even starts, there is character designs, concept art. There is, it's extremely important because, as you might expect, when it is an anime original, it's very easy to understand why character design is important because you literally have to create it from scratch and out of thin air. Now, when there is an adaptation, and let's say for argument's sake, let's try to use manga as the adaptation source for most of the explanation going forward. Because
let's say Spy X Family is getting an adaptation. It probably will be, but let's just say
Spy X Family will get an adaptation.
Let's say we're adapting it right now.
Okay, let's adapt it right now. Will and Jason is financing Spy X Family coming to you
disclaimer,
soon.
We're not actually doing that.
Disclaimer, we do not actually have
but
the capacity.
We would love to be a part of the production process.
Hey, if Jump Plus staff, if you want to create a Spy X Family adaptation of an anime,
call us, baby.
You just call us. I will get the money somehow. I don't know how, but I will get it to you. Just
right. So let's go back onto the whole character design part, right?
Right, yeah.
Why is it so important? I mean, like, if you have a manga, right? Like, you already have the characters in place. You already have drawings from the animes, from the manga, so why not just copy it like for like?
Well, you are both right and wrong at the same time. You're right in that, yeah, for example, the way the character looks is the way the character looks. And in the manga and in the anime, it should look the same. It should not look that different. You're right. However, when it comes from a static image to a moving picture, things may not necessarily always translate one-to-one.
Yeah.
So apparently, for example, fabric moving.
Mm-hmm.
Do you, for example, think that fabric moving, it might actually affect the movement of the character in the anime?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, some character might have a very intricate and outrageous hairstyle.
How would their heads move?
How would their heads move? Like, is it static? And that's fine if it's static, or maybe not, but a decision has to be made every step of the way on everything. Or how about this? The manga's in black and white. Maybe there's a color spread at some point. But let's say, for argument's sake, there is no color.
You have to decide what color.
You have to decide what color. And that matters immensely.
Yeah. And then going beyond that, once you do have a character in mind in terms of how you want to design them, how you want them to be portrayed, comes the next part in terms of the character creation, which is, who the hell are you going to choose to voice this character? If you don't have a good character design in place, that you generally wouldn't have an idea of what VA, like what voice actor or actress you would want to cast to portray said character, right?
I mean, you're just not going to be able to get Kanahana for every single female role ever.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to.
Yeah. To be fair, like the whole casting of VAs, that would also be part of pre-production. But I think talking about the whole casting process does require a separate episode. So for all intents and purposes, we'll just say that, we're able to secure the VAs that we needed.
But Will made a very good point, which is you need to find a VA that can be able to express the character accurately and vividly in the eyes of the director, or in some cases, the creator as well.
Yeah.
Because the creator of the manga might have some input. And this could be anywhere from being completely hands-off and not know anything, or being completely on board every step of the way and being asked for approval for so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. Like a consultant.
Yeah. Imagine like you cast someone, right? And then halfway through the recording sessions and you're starting to roll out the anime, or it's the director, the overall director comes back and says, I don't really like the way this character laughs.
Oh, it's too whiny.
Yeah. Or like, I kind of want them to be more empowering. I want them to sound more apathetic. I want them to, really, put more energy into these lines. Then it's like, well, these issues could have been ironed out if the pre-production had been good. Right?
Well, no, not exactly.
Sometimes things change. Sometimes things can happen.
I feel like the voice director to direct the lines can do some of that.
Yes.
But I feel that there are certain voices that are very unique. For example, Way of the House Husband.
Yeah.
The Yakuza turned house husband guy.
The voice acting is perfect.
Don't you think that even before the person is instructed on how to say things, his voice just speaks volumes in terms of, oh, wow, I hear that voice, and I do think this guy's a gangster.
Yeah. It's also just like when you look at the character before there's anything like on screen, and then like when they actually start playing the anime, you're like, yeah, this is pretty much how I envisioned this character to sound.
Exactly.
It's because of the importance of the character design. If you have a general image of how a character will look, chances are you'll also have an idea of how they should sound. Therefore, it makes your VA selection a little easier. Yeah, there's going to be issues along the way, right? Maybe like the VA doesn't perform as good as you liked for them, or maybe you might change your mind halfway through. But generally, having good character design makes your life a lot easier when it comes to casting members to voice your characters.
So then one other thing that we have to talk about in terms of character design is consistency. And we will mention consistency a lot throughout the production and post-production phase. But at this point, I guess the animation director or the chief animation director would be the person who decides corrections to animations that should be made that is close to their character models. And to explain that, I'm going to use a very obvious but example, which is, oh, you are a robot, so you can move your arms in a very weird way. But if it's a human, you can't move your arms in a certain way. That's just, unless that's what you're going for. But if you want like a normal like anime character, their arms cannot move past a certain, axis of rotation or whatever. The chief animation director would be the one to be like, that is feasible, that is not feasible. So therefore, these sets of actions is applicable to this character given the source material or the circumstances that surrounds it.
Yeah. So, Jason, are we finally ready to make our anime?
So once the story and everything's been mapped out, character designs have been figured out.
Voice actors and actresses have been selected.
They
budgets
approved.
Outlines. Budgets. Sponsors sealed. Are we finally ready to make this anime?
Let's produce some motherfucking anime.
Yes. So that was all pre-production. Now, next
can
phase.
You believe that? That's all pre-production.
Second phase, production. The actual producing of said anime, whatever the anime may be.
So, you just produce the anime, right? You put in the stuff.
You tell that guy to do their thing, and then after they're done, tell them to give you the work, and then you pass it to that guy, and that guy does the rest.
It's even easier. Like there's a box, right? You put the stuff.
What's in the box?
I don't know. You don't question the box. You put the stuff in the box, and then it spits out the anime, right?
Was this Schrodinger's anime?
Yeah, Schrodinger's cat, right? Is it in the box or not? I don't know.
What's happening in there? Does this anime exist or not? You won't know until you open it, right?
You don't open it.
Don't open it, okay.
Don't open it, Jesus Christ.
Well, let's say we actually do open up this box and we see the whole process of producing this anime unfold. Where do we start? We have all these ingredients. We have all these things put in place. How do we go about beginning the production of this anime?
So we will then go into the layout, the storyboards, and the animation part.
Right.
Now, some people, I want to just sort of give what do you call it, like a clarification, which is some people would consider that the character designs and everything that we mentioned as pre-production as part of the production phase. Now, I understand that sentiment because before you even draw something, everything should be ironed out beforehand. So technically, when you start designing and stuff, it counts as the production phase. For us, we consider the actual animation of those anime characters or whatever as that production phase. So even though we're not, as I said, some studios consider certain things pre-production, some studios consider things production. As we said in our disclaimer, this is just us trying to clarify that for us, at least in this purpose, the production is the moment that everything has ironed out and the anime is being animated and produced.
And we start bringing life to these anime characters.
Right, because character designs are just...
You have the concept.
Exactly.
Right? You have the blueprint in place, but how do they move their heads? How do their lips open and shut? How do they move so that when you have the voice actors dubbing these characters, are you matching it to the movement of their mouths, or are you just not animating it at all, and then you just have a shady mess? Like, this is why there's a separation between the animation part and the character design part, because they're two very separate processes.
So when it comes to anime or just animation in general, there is a term during the production phase that is extremely important that you will hear time and time and time again. That thing is called storyboarding. Do you know what I mean, you've heard storyboarding plenty.
Absolutely, yeah.
So storyboarding is how do I mean, I don't know if this is accurate, but I consider it the visual script.
Yes.
It's essentially usually it's done on A4 paper, but I guess it can vary, but usually it's A4 paper.
Yeah.
And
I've done storyboards before as well when I was doing my film studies class. It's a very vital part in laying out the vision.
Then sure, do you mind talking about it? Because no, I'm not trying to pawn it off to you, but I think you might be able to speak on it better then in that case.
Sure. In a way, it's like being able to visualize the script.
Yes.
Right? Because when you're reading words, it's not like you're always going to have stage directions. You're not going to always have pointers in terms of how a character is supposed to express certain things. So like you said, it's the visual representation of a specific part of the script in order for you to flow from scene to scene.
Yeah, and to make matters a bit more complicated, with a manga, it's a bit easier because there are panels.
Yeah.
But let's say if it's a light novel, how do you translate what is written in the words into what is seen with the eyes?
Yeah. So you basically it helps to set the environment. It helps to set the stage, and then it also helps to set how the characters are going to interact. Right? Like, is this character going to open up the scene? Is it going just to be an open canvas? Is this character going to be happy, sad? Are they going to be moving? What's happening whilst they're moving? Is there dialogue that's going along with it? So it's basically showing each part of the script and how it's correlated onto the screen, so that when you get to actually designing the set, being able to animate the characters, you know how to go from point A to point B, from point B to point C, and so on.
Right, so it's going to be very intricately drawn. It's going to have color. What?
Dude, do you realize how much time we actually have to produce this shit? We ain't got that much time. We're not going to talk about Crayola crayons and fucking color pencils. We're not doing any of that crap. It's going to be rough as shit.
Exactly. So storyboarding is extremely rough, and is usually done by the director, because the director is the one that envisions the anime, oversees everything. So everything from the cut, how many frames, to how the composition, do we zoom in? Do we pan out? Is this okay, they're in a room, for argument's sake. Where's the camera angle equivalent of the shot?
Yeah. Are we going to be employing rule of thirds? Are we going to be using this in black and white? How long is this shot going to be for? There's a lot of things you need to consider.
Is this blind spot?
Yeah.
The spot where, and then
Yeah. So that's why, when it comes to doing storyboards, it's definitely great if things are intricate and detailed, but realistically, you have no time to do that, right? You're going through several hundreds of cuts. So if you're able to put together something quickly, then you're able to pass it over to the next team and get things started next. You really should not be spending too much time trying to make things look detailed.
Yeah. Will mentioned cuts earlier. So cuts refers to a single shot of the camera or the eyes,
a frame, basically.
The frame, and how but to give you an idea, an average TV anime episode would usually have around 300 cuts.
Yeah. Break that down. That's why you really have no time, because if that's just for one episode.
Yeah.
And you're running, let's say you go Greenlee for a 24 episode season.
Yeah, dude.
Well over 6,000, 6,000, 7,000. That's a lot of cuts. I don't think you have time to color and pencil shit in, right? Let's be real. The faster you get it done, the better.
However, more cuts doesn't necessarily mean it's better quality. It just means that there is more notes and more direction.
More to run with, right?
Yeah. So then there is less ambiguity, I guess, right?
Right. So there's a 5-second gap, and then the director is like, how am I supposed to tell the animators that between this cut and that cut, characters are going to be doing this or doing that? you have to be very clear. Like just because it's not well drawn or intricate, you still have to be clear with your instructions on the storyboard.
All right. So then now comes the layout process, which is the beginning of art production. In simple terms, developing a layout is about the positioning of the cells that are used in the cut and the background art that will be needed, and is the definitive blueprint of how the final shot will look. And to give people an idea of what cells are essentially, what was it, Will? Like a section of drawing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So then sometimes there would be the background, and then you would put on top of that, like like
another layer
on top. Yeah.
So usually when it comes to these kinds of processes, you be collaborating with many people, right? You're not just collaborating with the director, you're also collaborating with some producers, you're also talking to the animators who are drawing these layouts. And then afterwards that you have to talk about the composition of these layouts, right? Looking into the background, like how big of a building are we going to draw, or like how far away are these mountains going to be? Is this tree placement done well? And then like everything that's like coming in from the storyboard is then laid out as this process is, right? The layout process, so that everything looks clear. You pick out the colors, you pick out the backgrounds, and you make sure that everything is in place so that you set the stage for when you put the characters into the shot, into this frame.
Right. Then comes the final, most important, I guess, not most important, but the part that everyone is talking about, which is the anime part of animation.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So now comes the animation. When it comes to animation, there is essentially several sections of animation that we need to talk about. There is basically hold on, Will, I'm trying to figure it out. There's the key animation, and then there is in-between animation, and then there's the final animation. So the key animation is basically the key frames of the action or animation that's in process. So, for example, let's say I'm punching you, Will.
Okay, so let's say this is a tournament arc.
A tournament arc, and Deku is fighting Todoroki.
Yeah.
No, fuck that. We're in our own anime, right?
Yeah. So he's beating the shit out of All Might.
No. Scratch My Hero Academia. We are the titular character in this anime.
We are beating the shit out of Deku.
No.
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Let's beat the crap out of
Will
Deku.
and Jason right now is inserted into My Hero Academia tournament arc number 1 and is beating the shit out of Deku. So I am going to throw a punch to Deku, and that is the direction that the shot is dictating.
Yeah, so you need to break it down, right? Break down that specific sequence.
So the key animation, the key frames, as you call frames of animation, is when I do the beginning and basically the end of that motion. So it would be like me clenching my fist
and throwing the punch.
And then throwing the punch to Deku's face.
And then the punch landing on his face. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
So then it would usually be like, I don't know, I'm not entirely sure, but I would say like 2, 3, 4 frames.
Yeah.
Just to show like the rough movement of where things will go and what will happen around or to the characters. Then, once that is done, those frames are then approved and rechecked to make sure everything is okay. And once that's done, then it will be officially called the key frames of the anime or the episode. Then comes the in-between animation, which is the things that connect the key frames from beginning to end. So it would be the fluid motion of me clenching my fist and throwing the punch to Deku. That would be the in-between animation. And the in-between animation can be, however many frames. Of course, more frames would be more fluid and more, I guess, intricate.
Yeah, but it's also like it's not as simple as you clench fist, throw, punch, hit Deku, right? It's not like that's basically what the animation, that's what the frames are. But to get from point A to point B, what are you going to add to it, right? Are you going to have Deku's face in the whole time? Are you going to add like lines to make it seem like your hand is moving faster and faster? Are you going to add like explosions and stuff in between there? It's like you need to be able to show what's happening from clenched fist to hit Deku.
Right. But that's just the simple part of keyframes.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, a storyboard dictates a hero escaping from a city.
Oh, I think I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking season 3, fucking AOT
Yeah,
part.
you're reading my docket. But yes.
Yeah, that fucking Levi escape scene was fucking nuts.
So in season 3 of Attack on Titan, without spoiling anything, because it's not really a spoiler, Levi escapes from his adversaries throughout the city.
Oh, it's fucking amazing.
And it is crazy gorgeous. That the storyboard probably is not that intricate. It would just be something like Levi is escaping.
This is what he's doing.
He's jumping from building to building or something.
There's a shot of the adversary. This is the adversary closing in. This is him escape. Right.
But the keyframes would be, okay, how is he going to escape? Oh, is he zooming through an alleyway? Is he, jumping here? Is he getting like hit?
Is he swinging down like a pendulum? Right?
Yeah, exactly. That. So then the in-between, once the keyframes have been decided, the in-between motions of actually making it look animated would then be done. Then the finishing touches, the finishing animation would then be, as you said, it would be like, maybe he gets a scrape here, or, like this box explodes. So, there's After Effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But at the same time, it's like once you've done it all and it looks good, the next thing you really need to make sure you keep up with is the consistency, right? Like he just got beat up, so you make sure that for the rest of that scene, he looks beat up.
Right.
He's like that barrel exploded. You better make sure that exploded barrel's still in the shot.
Right. But one thing that I do want to reiterate here, which is that the feeling that Will and I got when we watched the Levi escaping scene, there is actually, believe it or not, a special term for this exact thing. It is called sakuga. Sakuga, it stands for 作画 in Cantonese, 作画 in Mandarin, 普通话. So it literally means drawing picture. But in the Japanese anime, in terms of animation, sakuga is the moment where usually it's action-based, where it's essentially everything, the animation quality improves dramatically, and then it is a dramatic point, and usually in the fight or anything, and it makes the action look more impactful.
Like this is the part where like 1080p becomes 4K, where color saturations are much more noticeable when you actually start seeing more definitions in the frame.
So another good example, going by our My Hero Academia, Deku beating up section. Deku fights Todoroki in season 1.
Yeah.
There is a section towards the end of that fight that, if you noticed, all of a sudden everything just looks crazily like fluid, gorgeous, and it was like a minute ago versus this minute is very different. That is sakuga, and it gives you that feeling of goosebumps, like your heart starts racing. That is sakuga. And that a lot of people would sometimes even have cult followings for people whose sole job is to create these types of feelings and emotions. And
it's the hype.
It's the hype, literally. There is also a YouTube video that I would like to, YouTube channel that I would like to push. It's called Hobbs Sakuga. And all this person does is put all these high production animated,
all these
Sakuga moments, and put it with really good music. And you should check it out. Because
I mean, what's better than hype, right? How about 3 solid minutes of just nothing but hype?
Exactly. What if Jujutsu Kaisen, the girls fighting, was done and replicated like 20 times over with other female characters from other animated series all looking gorgeous, and the animation is crazy.
So you're basically talking about mixing like Black Lagoon with Kill la Kill with
Sinful Gear,
yeah, with Gurren Lagann,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
all right.
That's Sakuga.
But you can't include any Naruto in there because all the women's scenes are shit.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah.
What is this? What?
It's
Yeah.
Immature ninjas.
Immature. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You won't.
It's
understand.
not like that bleach thing, right?
Oh, that cleaning product. Yeah, it's not like that.
It's
No.
not like that. Okay, good. Great. All right. So as before I cut off Will with Sakuga, consistency matters a lot
Yeah.
because, I mean, in real live action movies, I think there is a role for someone to be like, that cup is here in this shot, but it's not there in another shot.
Oh, this person was smoking a cigarette, and I think it was in 90210 or one of the drama shows where it's like someone was smoking a cigarette, but then in the next frame their cigarette was unlit.
Right. Or this person has his back towards this person, then all of a sudden the next shot that person's back is like it's just inconsistent.
Or put simply, imagine someone's holding a gun and they're holding it in the right hand, but next scene they're holding it in their left hand.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like
yeah,
that,
like,
right?
hey, good.
Those
good
kinds.
call.
It could be as simple as that, but you need to make sure that these things are eliminated, because then it's just, if you have all these inconsistencies in your show, then it just makes it hard for people to follow, right? It's like, why is this person's hand gestures changing every fucking minute? Why is there a glass half empty and now completely empty? It's just one of those things where, like, it shouldn't be that important because it doesn't really change much of the plot, but it does break that reality for you.
And
you know?
yeah, and that consistency checker person is the animation director. This person.
So this guy directs the anime, right? He's just directing the whole animation process, right?
No, Will.
So it's not in the name, then, not on the title. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are they doing?
They are directing the anime, but they're not the directing in the conventional sense. They're directing as in more like correcting. They're like the animation corrector.
Yeah.
Really. They're the ones that look at frames and go, as we said, like, oh, he's holding the gun in the right hand, but holding the gun in the left hand. Or this person was wearing this shirt, but then all of a sudden it's unbuttoned in the other one. Like, what? Why? How?
This person was like jumped into a pool of water, but in the next frame they're completely dry.
Yeah,
Those
I
kind of
mean
things.
that's really extreme, but
Yeah.
that's basically the job of the animation director. Yes. Or this person cannot move like that because he or she is injured, and yeah, sure, it's an anime, but also, like, come on,
There needs to be
guys.
some realism in there, right?
Yeah. Basically, he or she, the animation director, is one of 4 main staff core members of an episode. There is the screenplay, to make sure that, you know, the words and the plot is consistent. There is the animation. There's the episode director who envisions the episode and also oversees that episode.
How it connects from one to the next one as well.
Exactly. And then coordinates with the actual series director. There is the storyboard person, lead storyboard
which we
person.
talked about visualizing the scripts.
Exactly. And then, as we just mentioned, the animation director is the 4th core member of a per episode basis.
Right. So with that much of responsibility, would you say that animation directors are, like, well respected, well paid? It doesn't sound like an easy job.
Oh, hell yeah. It is wicked hard. I said wicked again. God,
Yeah, because the whole point of your job is to make sure things look good and also there are no mistakes.
This
Like,
is also
you're basically proofreading an anime.
And this is also the part where I think is extremely stressful for the episode.
But also underrated, right? I think as far as things go, like, people don't really know all that much about what an animation director does. It's like, you're just making sure things are fine, right? You're just making sure the guy knows his left hand from his right hand, blah, blah, blah. That should be easy stuff, right?
I think it's one of those things where when it is unnoticeable, that's when you know you did a good job. But when it is noticeable, it is really, really bad. Because everyone cannot unsee it, you know?
If there's never a single mistake, then it's as if, like, nothing needed to be done, right? That's fine, move on to the next thing. But as soon as one key frame is wrong, or like one character's design is a little bit off, that's when, like, all hell breaks loose, right? Because if you did your job, your name would never show up. But that's also why that they're super underrated, but also well respected too.
And
it's a
they're
very, very key role.
And usually it is reserved for animators who have a lot of experience in just animation in general, or in a particular type of animation. So, for example, there's even episode directors that you would get for a mecha sequence, or I don't know, an action sequence that involves, underwater, for example.
Oh yeah, water animation's tough.
Oh Jesus, fire! Oh my God, fire! Okay, I shit on Fire Force, the anime, but you've seen a bit of the anime, right?
At least I've seen the trailers.
You got to admit that the fire in there is legit, and whoever directed or animated that, or overseed that, or all of the above, deserves some sort of commendation. Really,
It's not an easy job.
it is not an easy job. So, so then that is what the episode director does. The in-between animations, as we said, is usually handled by less experienced animators, because generally speaking, I'm not trying to downplay the importance of an animator, but essentially when you draw multiple frames that dictate 1 second of animation, it is drawing the same picture but altering it a little bit, altering it a little bit, altering a little bit, until the beginning of the keyframe and the second keyframe is linked. That is in between animation. Usually this is reserved, as I said, for less experienced animators. Doesn't necessarily mean it's always the case, but I guess for art, to put it in a more not so good way, it's easier.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of done. You have the beginning and the end, just fill it in between.
In a way, again, like, I don't want to sound offensive, but it's almost like lackey work, right? Like, it's something that's like just needs someone to do the job.
And this is where a lot of the work gets outsourced. Mm-hmm. Sometimes to
Korea, Vietnam.
Yeah, all the credits of names that are not Japanese that you see after the credits, usually, more often than not, are responsible for in-between animations. So, yeah, that's what in-between animations are. And they also do corrections and checks if stuff is, done right and things like that. And then we get to cell composition.
We're almost there.
We're almost there.
We're almost done. Are we almost done? We're not done yet.
No, we're not even done. We're not even. Look at the time.
We just got done with one episode. We've just got all the keyframes and the in-between animations done. We have our storyboard ready. What's left? What can we do now before we can push out this episode? We're talking about cells, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
we got
let's compose some cells.
We got to put it on the computer and
draw
it and paint it and make everything look pretty and complete all the puzzle pieces of the animation. This is the part where Will and I are a little bit unfamiliar.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. I definitely don't know how to assemble or, compose a cell. So I don't want to talk out of my ass and pretend I know stuff that I don't.
Yeah. But we can always refer you to certain series, certain shows to be able to give you more information about it.
Right. But basically, this is the part where everything is colored and finished of the animation part.
Yeah. So this includes, like you said, color composition. This includes 3D computer graphics. So basically,
or effects,
or effects in general, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like when you add, for example, like go back to the Todoroki thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Explosions and all that. Is any part of the series going to be done in 3D? How are you going to be doing the shading? Like, how are you going to do shadows and all that? There's a lot that goes into making sure that things look pretty, makes things look palatable.
Right, and that's the finish animations. You're right. So the cell, composing the cell, composing the frame after the animation is drawn, is the finishing touches, as you said. Finishing touches.
Yeah.
Animation.
Now, cool. So you got your characters designed. You have them moving from one place to another. You have an insane fight scene in the middle, and you've added your visual effects, your explosions, how you move from point A to point B. You're ready to roll this out, right?
Wait, Will, do you hear anything? I don't hear a single thing from this anime. What's going on?
Oh,
Oh,
we're
right.
doing a Charlie Chaplin anime. No.
This is a silent film. No. So then it is at this point that we finally go into post-production.
Yeah. So of course, after. So once the main production of the anime is done, this is where you would say like the editing, the cleaning, and then finally like release of the anime starts coming in. And one key component that we have to leave till now, because there's no point doing it unless you already have a key anime in place, you need the music, you need sounds, you need voices. So sound production is again another like whole can of worms because there's a lot of layers to it, but generally you want to talk about having a soundtrack in place. Most of the time you have like we're not even talking about like openings and endings, that's a whole different thing, but generally when you have music laid into an episode, how your characters are going to sound, so by casting the right voice actors and having them say their lines, generally these usually take part after, because then you already have the visual element, you have something that you can refer off to. Therefore, if you can see a certain character's mouth moving, their facial expressions, or like a general action sequence, you can then convey to the voice actor or voice actress how they're going to deliver their lines and what kind of music is going to be accompanying these scenes.
And they're usually, in a recording studio, obviously there should be a dubbing director that instructs the voice actors or actresses, oh, this is the key moment. I need more oomph. I need you to sound more tragic, or, like give almost like stage directions, but it's sound directions really. So that is what the dubbing director does, and then the voice actor or actress basically, obviously, voices the anime characters, and then once that is approved, that gets inserted into the anime. In terms of music, yes, we don't want to talk about OP openings or ED endings because that's a whole can of worms. Yeah. But there's usually two different types of music. There is the opening and the ending themes that are usually sung by, like a pop group or, a rock group. Like basically...
Even if it, or in certain shows, like you have a very prominent voice actress or a seiyuu, then you'll have them sing the opening.
Exactly. But that is different than the orchestral soundtrack, which is the soundtrack that accompanies the episode as semi-background music or so on and so forth.
Right.
The Kevin Penkin domain, basically.
We're just going to... Mr. Penkin.
Mr. Penkin.
And in some cases, I mean, in some relevance as well, like, for example, like Flying Lotus, who did the music and the sound design for Yasuke. Now, as bad as the show was... the music itself was fucking fantastic. I fucking love Flying Lotus. And it definitely, if it wasn't for the music, I probably wouldn't have been able to finish the show. At least we'll finish the first episode. But these are key parts, right? How the music sounds, how the characters sound, how the sound of the leaves, the sounds that the leaves make when the wind blows, or like when you're stepping into a puddle of water. Even those small little things is not just within anime production. Like, this is all for TV shows, for media, for movies. These are small, minute things that actually amount to a lot as a collective. So you have to spend quite a lot of time to make sure that things sound right? Like what it really sounds like if you step on a branch. What happens when your character is out of breath, right? So that's just the sound part, right?
Yeah. So let's then say all of that is done. The anime is finished. Everything is approved. Oh, I mean, after all that's done, obviously there'll be editing, making sure everything is consistent, everything is okay.
Yeah, maybe color corrections and all that.
The director giving the final stamp of approval after seeing everything from beginning to end. So let's just say
you put everything in sequence. You have your opening, you have your anime, you have your ending. Done.
Let's just say
all 25 minutes is ready.
And let's say that all 12 or however many curs or episodes of the anime is done. Okay, great. Anime is done. Made, finished, pronto.
Let's release this shit now.
Then comes promo.
Another step.
The promotion and advertising.
Oh, boy. Okay.
I will say only one... I will say one particular aspect of promotion. I mean, there's obviously PVs, promotional videos, CM, which is commercial, that are all, like, they're exactly what they say they are. There is one thing, though, that I think is extremely unique to anime in general that is different than other mediums, which is key visuals. Now, when an anime is announced, or even before they air, they will show key visuals of the anime. And key visuals, if you look at it, it is just a picture of the anime or the anime characters or whatever. But in anime and manga, it is extremely important because the key visuals are usually not only dictate the final design of the character that will be adapted into the anime, but also sometimes even the general atmosphere and feel of the anime. So it is like the first thing that fans will be exposed to see the feeling or the atmosphere that, or the intention direction of the anime adaptation.
It's like the free sample at a grocery store, right? Like this is what you're going to be
Except
in for.
it's static.
Yeah, this is what you're in for. Hopefully, once you get to experience a full 25-minute episode, like at least you have an idea of what to expect.
It is usually very high resolution, like super high resolution. We're talking like thousands of pixels times thousands of pixels in its original intended format.
And it's also like it is supposed to give you an insight as to what the show is going to be about and how you're going to consume the show, right? It's not just like regular promotional material, not like say for example like the Fast and Furious series, like all the characters standing by their cars, blah blah blah. It's not like that. It's not just to showcase what the movie is. It's literally to give a glimpse of the material itself for the consumer.
Or even like, oh, these characters will be in the anime, so it will only cover this part of the manga or light novel.
Or it could be a red herring.
But the point is, this is kind of the first impression to the public is the key visual. And sometimes that's all you're going to get. I mean, nowadays you get lots of promotion videos, trailers of all these shows. But sometimes for lesser known shows, all you get before the release is key visuals. So key visuals is extremely, extremely important because of that.
Cool. Are we ready to release this anime now?
Yeah, let's release this shit.
Cool. Where do we release it?
Here we go. So you can obviously broadcast it on Japanese TV, which a lot of animes still do to this day.
Yeah, but we don't live in Japan now, do we?
No. Where we consume our animes is through streaming services.
For the most part. So, the shows, the platforms you talked about, like High Dive, Crunchyroll,
Funimation, Netflix. Yep.
I guess Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Not much Hulu. Hulu doesn't have much. But generally, like, this is probably one of the easiest ways. Like, 'cause most people have a subscription to at least one of these platforms.
Right. Unless if you have, like, a satellite dish that goes into, like, Japanese
Actually, no. Like, because here in Hong Kong, you have Animax. Right?
Yeah.
So you can't watch, like, broadcasted shows in Hong Kong. Or, like, there is going to be, like, some... Like, for instance, you have Adult Swim in Japan. I mean, in the U.S.
Okay.
You probably have, like, a Taiwan counterpart. Yeah. So there's that. But again, like, for the purpose of this specific, like, topic, we're talking about TV broadcast. We're talking about streaming.
Yes.
We're talking about are we going to have physical media?
Exactly. Are we going to have DVDs or Blu-rays, which they call DVDs and BDs? Now, there is two other acronyms that has been at this point that has been used constantly, and I think a lot of people don't seem to understand fully what they mean. They are OVA and ONA. OVA stands for Original Video Animation. ONA stands for Original Net Animation. Now, whenever you hear OVA, they're usually given to specials, like things that are bonuses.
Yeah.
But really what it means is that it is episodes that are not aired on Japanese TV that are related onto physical discs only. So it's not released for broadcast, but it's released on physical discs or physical mediums. Hence, video. Original net animation is the same thing, except there is no physical copy. It is released on the internet.
Yeah. So basically all the originals you get from Netflix
are ONAs because there are no physical Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Or, for example, there are OVAs that could be released through streaming services as well, but they also have to have a physical release.
If they don't, then they're an ONA.
Yes.
So, like, for example, like Eden that you watched earlier.
That's an ONA.
Yeah. Okay, I think we finally got our anime produced. We finally have it sent out. Got all the sponsors ready. We're ready to roll this out. We're going to be airing this in Japan at like, I don't know, 11:55 p.m. And then it's going to be going on Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, and we're also going to have Blu-rays going out. This is it, right? We're finally done.
Wait, no. Nah, son. We ain't done.
What happens now?
Making money.
Wait, you're doing this for money? You're getting paid? All right.
Wait, don't look underneath.
How does one make money off of anime?
Okay. Basically, there are 5 ways studios can earn money. Let's start with the physical. DVDs and Blu-rays. I know we live in an age where Blu-rays are kind of like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Everything's gone digital
like
now,
my
right?
my MacBook Air doesn't even have a Blu-ray drive. Like everything, all my games are downloaded through Steam, or actually my PS4 has a lot of physical media, but that's because I'm dumb like that.
Yeah, but you collect the stuff, right? Because it's nice to have a physical copy.
Yeah.
For the most part,
I can just buy it off the online store, right?
almost all the manga I have is digital.
Other than my childhood years reading.
Yeah, like my Naruto's and my Bleaches, those and my Tokyo Ghouls, those are all physical.
My 20th Century Boys, those are physical.
Right.
But Blu-rays, funny enough, in Japan matters a lot because Blu-ray discs are extremely expensive. Usually contains these OVAs, as we mentioned, these
lots
bonuses,
of original content, yeah,
and things like that to entice people to buy Blu-rays because usually Blu-ray sales goes to the animation studio and not to the production committee. Of course, those things, terms and conditions can change, but usually that's how the animation studio earns their money on top of the flat sum of money that they get in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And this is independent of the budget. So, having Blu-ray sales, which you can get for a lot of money,
and therefore through those sales, you would also be able to get royalties and all that.
Exactly, and that's how the original creator
related, like merchandise,
exactly,
stuff like that.
Like the body pillows, all the figurines, all the
figurine body pillows.
Yeah, all that stuff.
All that jazz.
All that jazz goes to the animation studio. Merchandising is the second thing. So the third thing is localization.
Yeah.
Physical. Mm-hmm. Which is simply in your country, the Blu-ray will be released in your language, maybe sometimes with dubbing.
Yep.
I don't know, usually not. It's just your subtitles. Mm. Then comes obviously the streaming, licensing, which is the thing that is all the rage these days and everything's all about it.
Yep.
Then the last source of potential earning or budget money is through crowdfunding. And I would say in recent memory, at least from my personal experience, there's only 2 projects in recent memory that have made a big impact in the crowdfunding scene. That is Little Witch Academia by Studio Trigger and the recently ended Kickstarter by Wit Studio, The Girl on the Other Side.
Both successfully funded.
Both successfully funded. The Girl on the Other Side was funded within 24 hours and
heavily funded by everyone on the internet. You could see, like, I think it was like within 24 hours they met their goals. They were like, there was a lot of hype behind it.
I mean, we've crowdfunded it.
Yeah. Some would say that the success of the show is very much dependent on our contribution.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't take my word for it.
Don't take our word for it.
Right.
So, So now that and that's it. I mean, we could go on and on and on, but let's just say that is it.
Now we're finally making money. Cool. We've made some money.
So let's now finally talk about some anime and manga making. Will, what do you think?
So let's focus on the anime ones first, and then afterwards we have because here's the thing: the manga creation process does require another episode, maybe like an After Dark or like a focused sort of topic discussion. But generally, the shows that we're going to talk about, they will be able to give some sort of insight, whether it's more technical, whether it's more creative, whether it's more romantic. Nonetheless, it'll give you an insight into the specific industries we're talking about and the process that go behind the scenes. So let's talk about the animes.
I think there are two, right, that we kind of should just talk about.
Yeah, one that we've watched a while ago, and the other one which is we're both really digging right now.
Yes.
Let's start off with the creative one that we watched a while back. Keep Your Hands Off of Isaacin.
Right, by
Sen Saru. This one, I liked the show. I liked it a lot. It was cute to see, a group of students coming together and saying, "Hey, look, we have creative minds. We want to put together this animation club, and we're going to get school funding to produce this anime." So it was cool to see.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's on Netflix, and it was just really cool to see like the creative process that goes behind it, right? Now, to talk about the other show that we've been watching.
Okay, so Hands of Isaacin, though, is more, as you said, focused on the creative aspect.
Yeah.
They don't really touch on the budget. They don't really touch on, like,
But if you want to get a good visualization of how storyboarding works,
yes,
that's a really
or
good
character
anime.
design, too.
Really good one.
Hands of Isaacin really accentuates...
And sound design, too. Sound design as well.
Or, like, how does a character move? Does this creature move like this? Why would it not move like this, It is very well done in general. It's very heartwarming. I love all three of the main heroines. Dope.
But when it comes to like the nitty-gritty of securing funding and production deadlines and all
Planning.
that, you want to check out Shirobako,
Shirobako.
which you can catch on Crunchyroll.
Yes. And there's also a movie that is out.
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure where to watch it, but we're not close to even watching
We're
it
not.
yet.
Yeah, we'll figure it out when we get there.
See, this anime takes like 24 episodes to go through one process. I think we did pretty well.
I think we did pretty well.
Yeah.
So Shirobako is essentially about a group of 4 high school. It started out in high school, then they moved.
Oh, there's a 5th girl, but she's still in college. After it was post time skip.
Post time skip, yeah.
Yeah.
And the time skip happens like
Literally
a minute,
2 minutes. Yeah.
So it's not really a spoiler, and it talks really about the nitty gritty of anime making to the point where they show you a shit ton of characters, but then they also tell you their occupation and their names, and then you go through literally the production process because our main character is a production assistant, and it just goes through all the trials and tribulations of getting things done. And I love Shirobako.
Everything from delivering frames from one place to another, making sure that the cloud is running so that you're able to get your backed up files, to coordinating with your key animators to make sure that there's consistencies between episode 7s to episode 8s.
Or creative differences.
Yeah.
They address that too. I think...
Even going through, for example, like if your director has writer's block.
Yes, they also go through that as well. Or a director not liking a certain animation segment and asking it to be redone.
Or what happens if one person is ill and they miss a deadline, and then the fallout for one deadline missing, and then all the other deadlines getting pushed back,
or someone quitting.
Yeah, it's still a pretty warm, wholesome show, but like it shows you like really the harsh realities of the process of making anime.
And they pull no punches. They have all the lingo. They show you every step of the way. It's almost like a documentary almost.
And if something was set up to fail, it's going to fail. So it doesn't like sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
Even if it's going to suck, at the very least, it's like it gives you a realistic idea of what really goes behind the scenes.
I mean, as realistic as you can get.
I mean, in the end, it's still an anime, right? It's still a show. You should still enjoy it. They don't want to depress you that much, but yeah.
So Shirobako you can see on Crunchyroll.
Yeah. So hey, those 2 shows, fantastic. We could talk about the manga stuff too, but I think we will leave that for another episode.
We'll leave that for another episode.
Man, if only it was this easy to make an anime, right? Dude, we managed to talk about the whole process, and we can do it. It took us an hour to talk about it. I'm sure we can produce.
I think it took more than an hour.
Hour, a little bit.
Yeah,
Whatever.
hour. You should.
No one's keeping track, which is why we'd be terrible at making anime if we're not timekeeping.
Oh, the scheduling.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We don't even have a voice acting cast. Yeah. No, okay.
Oh wait, no, there's 2 voice actors right here.
Right here. Yeah.
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 All right, so that is the end of this episode for the Good Anime Palette episode 9. let's go through some housekeeping.
Go for it.
You can always reach us through email at gapalette@gmail.com. That's GAPALETTE@gmail.com, all one word. Through our Twitter @PaletteGood, capital P, capital G, or through our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/PaletteGood, capital P, capital G, all one word. You could also visit our website, www.goodanimepalette.com, all lowercase, all one word. You can join us on Discord. We had quite a few number of new Discord people, so
It's been pretty active.
it's been pretty good. It's been nice chatting with a bunch of people, and if you're hesitant, you should not hesitate and come down and just be friendly. We're all good people. We like to talk anime and manga, and it's great.
Look, it's good to hear other people outside of Jason recommend me read or watch Silver Spoon.
Or
right?
Sinful Gear.
Right. So hey, it's a cool environment. Get on it, and let's just have a good time just talking about anime and manga.
Yeah. We also have My Anime List Club, a MAL club, which you can get at our show description. You can also get our Discord invite through our show description. If you want to get an invite to any one of those and you can't find the link, you can always just email us and we'll give it to you, no problem. So our intro music is Green Lights by Jahzzar. Our break music is Min 2019 by minwbu. Our outro music is What You Thinking, the instrumental version by Wataboy. You can find our intro music from the freemusicarchive.org, and you can find our break and outro music at pixabay.com. Will, how's it going, man?
I want to throw out a couple of names at you, and I wanted you to, at the top of your head, think which animation studio will go well with them. So, say for example, Quentin Tarantino was to make an anime.
Trigger.
Do you think really? You think Trigger? Because of the fact that they like doing originals, right? And all the Tarantino stuff is always very wacky and unique
And originals.
original. I was thinking Silent Sorrow,
Okay.
just because of the fact that it's like because they have like unique visions in terms of how art's done, right?
Okay.
Right. How about J.J. Abrams?
Kyoto?
I was thinking A1, or any studio really that would do something nice and intergalactic.
I mean, Kyoto Animation may not be the best one, but I was thinking it because of J.J. Abrams really care about, like, the way things look. I wouldn't say Kyoto Animation have a lot of lens flares, but... All right, is that it? Are the only two you got? You got any more?
Well, I mean, why don't you throw some at me?
I don't fucking know. I don't know, Will.
Fincher?
Sure, David Fincher, what you got?
I'd say if it was 2015 and before, Madhouse, absolutely.
Ooh,
David Fincher, Madhouse, that would be a crazy one,
that would be good.
right? Okay, well, we can wax lyrical about all these, dream director and
No,
animation
but
studio.
actually, you know what, Will? None of that is important because as long as our anime has Kevin Penkin's melodic tones, then we're good, right? One of these days, people are gonna.
Should we just say it? Like
We're
Kevin Penkin is the Hans Zimmer of the anime world.
Okay, so I think Kevin Penkin is the non-Asian Hans Zimmer of the anime world.
Okay.
I think the real Hans Zimmer of the anime world is Sorano, the Attack on Titan series composer and Kabaneri Fortress
That's a
composer.
yes. Okay.
The second one would be Yuki Hayashi, I think.
Yeah.
The one who did the My Hero Academia soundtrack.
Okay. Oh, actually,
Oh, God.
no.
Okay.
So you know how you're talking about Kyoto Animations, right? I was
Yes.
thinking of the perfect director to go with it, Paul Anderson. If he was doing stuff like
No,
Grand
but like,
Budapest,
it's like quirky, right?
Quirky,
Kyoto
but-
Animation is not quirky.
but it doesn't have to be quirky. It could also just be beautiful.
I
too,
would
right?
I would say like Arrival, the director for Arrival,
Mm.
and the latest Dune movie. I forgot his name. Is like not. It's not an English name,
I don't remember.
but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Science Sorrow would also be pretty good for TT Wakiki, the guy who did.
Yeah, that one I
Ragnarok.
agree with. That one I agree with. He's the golem from.
Who the hell would produce for Christopher Nolan?
IG.
Good shout. Production IG, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's try this. Let's see what happens if these
Wait,
guys.
who gets wit? I say Paul. Who's the aquatic life guy? Tom. Paul. Tom. Jesus Christ! I'm gonna sound like a fucking idiot.
Who gets Tim
Paul.
Burton?
Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson
Okay.
would be. Yeah.
Who gets Tim Burton? Oof. A1?
I mean, with Shadow's House.
Yeah. Probably. Okay. Well,
Cloverworks.
oh, good. Yeah, actually, that would be a good one too. If it was like Wonder Egg-esque, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Shadow's House.
Yeah. Oh man, that would actually be really cool to see these directors get into anime. If there was some alternate universe.
I mean, then James Cameron did Battle Angel
Alita?
Alita, but it was obviously not anime.
Yeah. Something about her eyes just really bothered me.
And
Are
it was,
you checked out the original manga or
no,
anime?
no.
Or wonder how easy it'd be to find it.
I don't know.
Look online later. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening into how Jason and Will would make an anime. Obviously, there's a lot of kinks, and we still need to flesh out our timekeeping, and I'm pretty sure we'll need more than just the two of us to do the voice acting. But quite clear, it's not easy, right? So we really do have to pay respects to the people before us who have made all these shows, made all this manga. Look, just go out there, get a Netflix, appreciate a good show, read a good manga.
Get Crunchyroll.
Get Crunchyroll. Yeah, get Crunchyroll. Don't just use off of Netflix. Don't just, wait for something to get on there. Go on Crunchyroll, Funimation if you're in the US, and just watch some damn good anime, man.
Or just get a VPN as well. That would solve a lot of your issues.
True. Do that, and you
That's
have
what
the whole world of anime in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do. So
Right. So, yeah. Tune off of this podcast. Get onto your favorite streaming service. Find a show you want to watch, and just enjoy the rest of your week. All right?
yeah, peace out.
Take it easy.
Later.